Welcome to another video, and today we are going to do past paper question 2022, Food, Nutrition, and Health, paper 2. So let's go. So as you all know, it consists of 6 questions, and you have to answer all 6. Let's go with question number 1. The first question reads, define the term lifestyle disease. And you can write lifestyle diseases, also known as non-communicable diseases, are ailments that primarily result from an individual's daily habits and their behavior. And this value 2 marks. All right. The next question say, name 2 lifestyle disease. So we just did the definition about lifestyle disease. So they're asking, name 2 lifestyle diseases that can negatively impact health of person in the Caribbean. And cardiovascular disease is one, stroke is another, type 2 diabetes, cancer, and obesity. The next question, state 2 factors other than level of activity, pregnancy, and lactation that can influence eating patterns and dietary choices in the Caribbean. So apart from level of activity and pregnancy and lactation, what other factor can influence? So one will be age. The next one will be sex. So we talk about the gender. Another factor can be occupation, and another factor can be health concerns. So you can choose any 2, or if you have the others, that will be fine. So they're saying that explain each of the following factor to change dietary needs. So the first one is level of activity. And when you're talking about level of activity, when you're talking about dietary needs, the possible answer can be the occupational activity. For instance, a teacher working, their food daily intake will be different from persons that are doing construction work. So that would be a factor, right? Another one is more active the person is the more energy they will need. So you can have those response. For pregnancy and lactation, so for pregnancy, lack of iron, for pregnancy, they will need folate, nutrients, need of all nutrients from different groups. So they need more calcium, and the list goes on. And importantly, they need to contain and maintain a balanced diet. And we already know what is a balanced diet. Next question. Discuss 2 factors that may threaten the food security of elderly person within a community. All right, so that is 6 marks. So they say explain any 2. I gave you 4. Natural disaster will be 1. So for instance, you have like a storm, or you have a hurricane. So you explain. So I give you the factors, you just need to explain. The natural disaster, how that will affect the possible threat of the food security for an elderly person. So they were moving from different location, maybe the roads are blocked, we don't have any light, and the list goes on. Age is also a factor that influence a choice, because when you're talking about age, you're talking about different food items that person need to consume based on their health issues, and the list goes on. Another factor would be infectious disease, and 2 years ago we experienced COVID, where we have food threatened. So we're getting food from different countries, and we have shortage of certain food items. So we can explain or discuss. Another one is social economic status. So depending on how much money that you have, that will also threaten food security for an elderly person. So we can explain. So I gave you 4, you can explain. That's a good one. Let's go to question 2. State 2 function of food in the body. 1, it provides energy. 2, maintain body function. And 3, building and repairing body tissues. So you just need to state. No need to explain, the state. I gave you 3, you can use any 2. The next question say, name the deficiency diseases that occur as a result of inappropriate intake of each of the following nutrients. And they gave us vitamin A. So vitamin A deficiency will be night blindness. Vitamin C will be scurvy. Iron will be anemia. And iodine will be goiter. Next question. So we are talking about anemic adolescent who have planned breakfast menus. So you know the anemic will need iron. So they gave us the breakfast menus. We have chocolate milk, callaloo, spinach, and scrambled egg, toast bread, and coffee. So what are the adjustment we can make for this menu they are asking? So one, I will take out the coffee and I will put either mint tea or ginger tea. I will remove the chocolate milk when we have fruits or fruit juice. I will keep the callaloo and spinach, but remove the scrambled egg, and I will put either liver or kidney. And then they state one reason for your adjustment. So for a person with anemia, if you mix citrus and, for instance, callaloo, food rich in iron, then the absorption goes better. So we have citrus fruit, increase body absorption that will go well with the callaloo. So for instance, in the Caribbean, if you're going to consume callaloo, for instance, in the morning with your saltfish or codfish, then we'll normally have orange juice. So it helps with the absorption of the nutrients. Next question. The question is kind of blurry, but let's see. So we have Keto recently suffered from a stroke as a result of hypertension and heart disease. He was also diagnosed with diabetes. Plan a lunch menu. So the person have diabetes, they have hypertension. So let's see what we can give them for a meal. So we have grilled salmon. I should put a sauce there because normally the method of cooking goes with a sauce. So grill salmon with lemon, grill salmon. So I will put lemon sauce, and then steam vegetable brown rice, and give them pure water. That's 4 marks. Next question, question number 3. State 3 guideline you would give your mother to assist her planning meals for a grandparent who is ill. And I am assuming that the grandparent will be an elderly. So when we're talking about the guideline, 1, the method of cooking is so important. So we have a moist method of cooking instead of the dry. So the moist will be, we can actually do grilling, which is a dry, but that can be done. Steaming, poaching, that will be another one. Another guideline is balanced meal, and another one is reduced sodium intake. Suggest 3 reasons why the amount of time available must be considered when planning a meal. So when you're planning a meal, we're supposed to reduce impulse buying. And we know impulse buying is buying things that you will never plan for or put on our shopping list. 3 reasons. Family time is very important and bonding. And another reason is healthy food. Next question. Your class is going on a field trip and all students are required to take packed lunches. Suggest 3 guidelines that the students should follow when packing their meals. Suggest 1 reason for each guideline. All right. So you will have packed perishable food. Keep food cold that are supposed to be cold. Keep food warm that are supposed to be warm. And pack water. Say 1 reason for 1 guideline. So for instance, if you're going to bring cold food, and you can travel with your igloo for that reason. 6 marks. Next question. Write a suitable menu for a packed meal you should take on a trip. So I will take fruits, depending on the type of fruit though. I will have my fried chicken and my cheese sandwich, and then I'll have water and drink. 4 mark. Question number 4. State 2 factors that contribute to food spoilage and contamination. So some factors that contribute to food spoilage will be warm, time, danger zone, temperature. Those will be the factors. 2 mark and choose any 2. Name 2 methods of food preservation. The eat method will be 1, dehydration will be another, frozen will be another one. They ask for two, you can choose any one. For each method of preservation chosen, so you give example. For instance, if I chose dehydration, you can have powdered milk, we can have herb. And what we mean by that when we say powdered milk, for instance, we remove the removal of moisture. So you'd have, for instance, in the Caribbean, we have tin coconut milk, and then you have the dry coconut milk. So it's the removal of the moisture. For herbs, for instance, you have parsley, and you can put it in the sun to dry, and it removes. So those will be an example. You are preparing a boiled cereal and toast for breakfast. Explain one changes that is expected to take place. So I choose the bread, the toast bread. All right, so for toast bread, one of the changes will be texturization will happening when you're toasting the bread. The taste and the flavor will develop, it'll be different. And when we break down starch, we call it dextrin. Next question. While preparing breakfast, you are baking a cake. On removing the cake from the oven, you notice that the cake is flat. Explain two ways in which you could have prevented this. So at the moment you see this, this is a false in cake making. So correct ingredients, we have to use correct ingredients, meaning that we have to weigh and measure. If you overmix the batter that you use, the gluten in the flour, right? The protein, the gluten, it will allow it to be faulty. And another one, they say two, I have three leaving agents. So if you have expiring baking powder, baking soda, that can cause that fault as well. Question number 5. The three important principles that should be considered when using small equipment. All right. Plug a cooking appliance when needed. So you plug in the appliance when you need it. Use an oven mitt. It's a principle. Turn off all cooking equipment. 3 marks. These 3 principles that should be considered, should be followed to conserve energy, time, conserve fluid, energy, and time in the kitchen. 1, use the correct pot for the particular size of your stove or top. Use a food processor if you can. Instead of using your manual, you can use a food processor to consume time, conserve on time. Do not open oven too often, because when you open the oven, cold air will go in and the temperature have to build up. Cover pot on the stove, and the list goes on. So 3, you can choose any 3. Choose one small electrical device used in the kitchen and explain the role of any 5 features of this small electrical device. So I choose a mixer, and they say explain any 5 feature. So on a mixer, you will have different attachment, right? You would have the door attachment, you would have the different attachment as we mentioned. The speed will be another one. Easy to clean, that will be another one. Powerful motor, that will be, and the lid head design, so you know that you have different design as you go along. 10 marks. Number 6, which is your final question. Define the following term. So the first one is bulk buying. What is bulk buying? So we purchase large amount of item, typically when they're on sale, so you're buying bulk. What is a consumer? A consumer is a person who purchases goods and service for their personal use. What is credit? Credit, the ability of a consumer to obtain goods and service before payment. So we in our term, in our Jamaican term, we say we trust. We trust before we give the payment. All right. List 3 rights or responsibility of a consumer. So the right will be right to be for safety, right to be heard, right for consumer education. The responsibility will be the right to be aware, the right to think independently, the right to complain about any default, and the right to be respectful. Explain 3 ways in which exposure or external cuisine negatively impact the habit and behavior attitude in the Caribbean. 1, higher calorie in value, that will be 1. developing disease. Let me explain high calorie value. So for instance, we have to depend on international food items to come in because we don't normally, quote unquote, really taking our own. Then if we are going to get food from overseas, it's mostly processed food, for instance, because you have to process the food because over time, food will get spoiled. So if you're moving from one country to another, some form of preservative must take place. So you have high calorie value. Yeah. Developing diseases. So as I said before, because of the lack of food items coming in, then you'll have that because it's most of them, as I said, won't be healthy because of the preservative method that would be in it. So it's a negatively impact. And then ingredients from overseas tend to be expensive because you're traveling and you have to pay for the traveling costs. All right, next question. Suggest 4 reasons why kitchen hygiene and food handling are important in the management and practices in the industry. One, it prevents food contamination, it prevents foodborne illnesses, it prevents loss of customer and sale, it will prevent the loss of customer and sale, another reason is that loss of reputation. And that's the end of the paper. And thank you so much. All the best in your examination.